going to be tying up a CDC Midge Emerger pattern. This is a fantastic pattern with very few ingredients, and really if you take your time it's not that difficult to do. Very effective, and you're going to want all of the life stages of a midge when you're out fishing, because the midges are hatching all year long. So I've just started my thread here on the hook. I'm going to take it and spin it a little counterclockwise here to try to get it to lay flat. And I'm going to take this thread right up around the bend of the hook here. I'll try to take touching wraps as close as I can, because I only want to travel back here once, so I don't want to have a lot to cover up. Anything that gets exposed will be covered up on our way back up, but really we want to keep the abdomen on this midge very, very thin. So we're going to tape it pretty deep into the hook bend here. Just about that far down. And we're just going to travel right back up, touching turns to some extent. I'm not as concerned about it coming back up as I was going down. And I want to kind of leave it where the thread is pretty close to alignment with the point of the hook. So we're going to start with some CDC in a dark gray dun, and I'm also going to throw in one feather, CDC feather in a white. I'll explain that as I'm going along. So we'll go ahead and start with a dark dun CDC feather. You can see I've stripped the base just to kind of keep it clean. I'm going to hang this over the front of my hook eye here, and we're going to go ahead and take a wrap to kind of secure that down. I want to secure it close to the top of the hook as I can. I'm just going to take a couple of wraps, and from there I'm going to draw that feather back by holding the stem and pulling it backwards until I get it to about the length I want this wing to be. That's going to be about good right there. From there I'm just going to take a couple of tight wraps. I'm using GSP, so I can put quite a lot of tension on this. Then we'll come on in with our scissors, try to keep my fingers out of your way, and clip off the end of this piece. Take our next dark gray CDC feather. Again, I'm going to tie that right onto the top of the hook shank. Take a couple of wraps to lock it down. I'm going to pull it backwards until it's the same length as that first feather. I'm going to take a couple of nice secure wraps down. We'll come on in with our scissors and cut that balance off close. So now we'll take our last dark gray feather. Same thing, couple of wraps, pull it backwards to length. Go ahead and secure it with a couple more wraps. Come in with our scissors and we'll go ahead and clip off the balance. Last of all, we'll take our white CDC feather. We're going to do exactly the same thing. Getting that secured on the top of the hook shank with a couple of wraps. Draw that backwards to the same length. And then we'll take a couple of tight wraps to lock that down. And then we'll come on in with our scissors. So now we'll just head backwards. We're going to kind of clean up these butt ends. I like to throw that white feather in, mostly for me, because I have a hard time seeing on the water anymore. And emergers ride really low in the water column. So by throwing a white feather in there, it just helps me spot this a little bit better when it's on the water. So we've kind of cleaned that up a little bit. I'm going to stroke these fibers all backwards, and we're going to take some jam wraps right underneath and the base of those wings. That's just going to help us get this starting to stand up. From there, we'll just go ahead and move to the other side of that wing and move our thread back to where we're going to tie in our next material. So now I'm just going to take a wisp of black superfine dubbing and I finger dub that right onto our thread here. Get it nice and tight. And then I can just slide that down my thread. We're going to start building up a thorax here with this dubbing. So I'm just going to take a few wraps in, tighten that down a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and let that hang. So next I'm going to tie in a piece of crystal flash. This is just your regular pearl crystal flash. I'm going to tighten this dubbing up once more because it's getting away from us a little bit. I'm going to want one side of this to go on the lens side of the hook and the other to go on the me side of the hook. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of attach that there on that side. I'm going to take a wrap or two just to secure that down. Just like that. I'm going to take the other strand and bring it over to my side of the hook and try not to bring any of that CDC with me. I'm going to just take a couple of wraps here to kind of secure that as well. Next, I'm just going to take a cross wrap right in between those two pieces of crystal flash. On one side, I'm going to come right up back through on the back side of this piece of crystal flash. And what that cross wrap is going to do is it's going to help separate those, so hopefully you can see that a little bit. And from there we're going to go ahead and just make this thorax a little bit beefier right here behind the wing. Keep tightening our thread. Now I'm going to grab these fibers, I'm going to pull them backwards. We'll tie the balance of the stubbing right behind that wing, kind of reinforcing it to stand up, while also continuing to build a thorax here. From here we're just going to continue to keep those CDC feathers back. We're going to build up a small head here, this being gel spun or GSP. Probably going to take a few more turns than what you might be thinking. Once I've got that, I don't want a big pronounced head on this. We'll go ahead, we'll grab our whip finisher. Trying to avoid trapping too many of those fibers. I can cut some of them out to get trapped. Got that nice and secure. We're going to go ahead and remove our thread. I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to grab these two pieces of crystal flash, kind of pull them together, and I'm going to cut them slightly longer than the bend of the hook here. And with that, we're done. There's our CDC Midge Emerger pattern. Very simple to tie. If you take your time, especially with those CDC, prepare the feathers in advance by stripping off the bottom fibers of the feathers. They actually tie in pretty quickly. And this is just a wonderful Midge Emerger pattern. As I noted as I was putting these in, I used 3 of the dark gray done CDC feathers, and then I included 1 white feather just to help me see this on the water a little bit. So great pattern. Give it a shot. Throw a hook in your vise.